a new organisation was bandied all over the airways. If seeking publicity was their goal, they certainly did that. And that is, of course, Insulate Britain, who also managed to irritate and annoy a huge number of people, causing lots of disruption and lots of discomfort for many, many people. However, I'm pleased to say Zoe Cohen, spokesperson for, or I think one of the spokesperson for Insulate Britain, is on the line and joining me this evening. Zoe, good evening.
Hi, Nick. Good to meet you.
Well, thank you very much for joining us. Zoe, in a nutshell, please try to avoid giving a manifesto here because we want to use the time well. But what are you trying to achieve, and who are you trying to get your message through to?
We're trying to get a straightforward commitment from this government, Nick, to take real action to insulate the homes of British people, to drive down our emissions, to create hundreds of thousands of jobs, and to prevent people dying in winter because they have to choose between heating and eating.
Okay, and who's your target? And that's a very clear message. And who's your target? So you're targeting the government, presumably, to do this.
Yes, of course.
Right. So why are you targeting and disrupting the lives of the British public on such a scale?
Well, I think I'd like to get your thoughts on that, Nick, because I know you're a former MP, aren't you?
Yeah.
And history tells us and experience tells us that the government doesn't listen unless we cause disruption. So what are your thoughts on it?
No, I've got to ask you, because you have achieved a huge amount of publicity, but it's come at a huge price, a personal price for many people who've got some very difficult and tragic stories as a result of what you've done. I've got to press you. Why are you disrupting the lives of all these people and not taking your action directly where it will be in the face, if you like, be it outside Parliament or wherever it may be? Why are you not taking it to government?
Well, unfortunately, Nick, lots of protests have happened to directly in Parliament, at Parliament, at Downing Street and so on, and they don't get this coverage. We don't have this national conversation, and this national conversation, these difficult conversations, are what we need. And, you know, as a mum and a former carer, my heart goes out to everyone who's affected by this disruption.
But it can't do. I mean, you know the stories, Sarah. Zoe, you know the stories. You've heard the tragic stories. Someone whose mother was in their car and he had a stroke and she died as a result of it. You've heard about ambulances being stopped. You've heard about people struggling to get to work. There are all those stories, and your sympathy doesn't cut it. But my main point is, you want a national conversation. You've got it. People are sick to death of what's going on.
And it's incredibly distressing being even part of this, but every single person in Insulate Britain honestly has a heartfelt sense that they have no choice, Nick. That there are no
you do have a choice.
Left.
You could do other things, couldn't you? That is the bottom line. I mean, we've seen that. You've chosen to disrupt like this, and my understanding is you're going to continue this disruption. Is that the plan?
The campaign is ongoing. And we genuinely believe that it is, because we have no choice, Nick. We have no choice. What this is about is a genuine sense of care for every family in this country and for those who die needlessly, fuel poverty every winter. And our entire society is facing an enormous security risk. You know, I know you're a former MP, so you may well be aware, but the Ministry of Defence commissioned a study and some work only about a year or so ago, and they, I understand, are fully in the acknowledgement of the likelihood that we will face temperatures of 2.3 to 3.5 degrees of heating later on this century, and that aggravates existing threats to international peace and security. That's a direct quote from the report I've got in front of me. This is a national security risk.
Yeah, but that doesn't give you a reason to blight the lives of everyone on the scale that you are doing and some of the stories that you have heard. But let's just move on a little bit.
Nick, I would sincerely like to challenge that. I would sincerely like to challenge that.
Well, it doesn't give you the right. Frankly, it doesn't give you the right, and the police should be picking you up. No, it is. It is about your right to disrupt those people's lives. That is your choice. You are choosing to disrupt those people's lives. I would urge the police to pick you up, move you off, and keep chasing you until you disappear.
That's what the police have been doing, Nick. They've been doing their job.
Yeah, good, but they haven't been doing it quick enough. And you're choosing, in the face of that knowledge, you're doing it in the face of that knowledge that you are deliberately disrupting people's lives, stopping them getting to work, right? Letting them sit in their cars, no doubt puffing out all the fumes and emissions that you're unhappy about. You've got people not getting to important things, hospitals, meetings, whatever it may be, trying to rebuild their lives after the pandemic, trying to keep their jobs. You think this is something that is entirely acceptable?
It's not. None of it's acceptable.
Well, no, sorry,
Nick.
it is. Then don't do it. Seriously, Zoe, don't do it if you believe that.
Nick,
I'm not your campaign manager, Zoe, and if I was...
No, I know you're not, Nick, but surely you care about the future of this country. You care about the security of British families.
Have you thought of actually, if you believe that if you think you want to make a difference and only government make a difference, how many of you have put up for Parliament?
But you know,
now answer the question.
We haven't got time. I think there are one or two people who stood. In fact, we've got some councillors who are.
Well, never mind that. How many have stood up for Parliament? You want to change the government? 2019. This issue hasn't just started now. You want
no, exactly.
Right. So why haven't you stood up? Why haven't you stood for Parliament? Or are you too frightened? You just get thrown out by the electorate. It's tough. I tell you, it's happened to me.
And my sympathies to you. Right? Politics is a.
So go into it and make change that way instead of disrupting people's lives.
Nick, please. I don't know if you even believe what you're saying. Have you?
No, I
not
do
heard
actually. I'm a Democrat.
Okay, well that's good. I'm pleased about that. But literally, please, you must. I'm sure you know about the science and the fact that.
But that you're not answering the question, Zoe. Really, why are you not forming a political? No, well, answer the question I've given you.
I'm going to answer the question.
No, answer the question about why will you not form a political party and start?
Nick.
Well, you had time in 2019. Why didn't you do it then?
No, we don't have time. There isn't time to go through that.
So you think you could be more effective?
We need a World War II scale mobilisation. That's what is needed. An enormous mobilisation, and insulating the homes of British people is one potential part of that to actually reduce emissions, create jobs and save people from...
Well, when we mobilised in the war, the leaders got the people behind them. They didn't go out and barricade them on the motorways to force them to act. You want the government to act.
We're not the leaders of this country.
No, and had you had the guts to take your fight where you can make a difference, Parliament, you may very well be able to make that difference.
Nick, that's not... Listen, for the last, I think about 3 weeks now, there's been a group of people denying themselves food, doing basically a hunger strike on Parliament Square, outside Parliament, every day for about 3 weeks now. They haven't even had a moment of media coverage. They're harming themselves.
You've had your media coverage. You've had your media coverage. Now, if all you're interested, well,
we're having a national conversation.
But you're not. That's the problem. The conversation that you are having is not on the subject you want to have it on, is it, Zoe? Because we're all talking about how you're disrupting lives of people to an unacceptable level. If you wanted a national conversation, I can tell you the best place to start it is in Parliament, where you might have actually achieved something. But can we move on now? Because you came back to this, and you keep coming back to this. On your own website, you talk about, actually, you want the cost of insulating all the homes is 35 to 60 billion. Now, what are you going to cut to fund that?
Before I answer that question, I just want to come back to we haven't got time, Nick. It's supremely important that this is touched on. So David King, who's the former Chief Scientific Advisor to the UK government, is crystal clear in saying that what governments do in the next 3 to 4 years will determine the future of humanity for millennia to come. Now, I'm pretty sure that you understand what that means. We are under an enormous security threat, a threat to our society, our entire economy. And the Office of Budget Responsibility, I know you'll know what that is, the government's kind of financial advice watchdog organisation, they're very, very clear in saying that every delay to actually doing real climate action costs more.
Fair enough.
Because it's only going to get worse. We're at the beginning of this, Nick. We ain't seen nothing yet.
Fair enough. But you weren't standing in the Chesham and Amersham by-election on that. And will you stand at the next by-election that comes up?
We haven't got time.
Well, what do you mean? A by-election could be next week for all you... Well, not next week, but it could be soon. So come on. Why are you dodging?
Moves at glacial pace.
So
our glaciers are melting, Nick. We don't have time.
Yeah, we know all about that, and I let you get your point about David King out. So you're rejecting democracy and you're taking this direct action.
No, because
we're in a democratic
system. No, we're not at all.
No, you really are.
We have a right to peaceful protest in this country.
Yes, you do, but you also have laws to follow, and blocking motorways is not actually acceptable. I think you'll find that.
I think actually it's up to the legal system to decide that, isn't it? It's up to the courts to decide that.
And I didn't say
judgment recently. The Ziegler judgment actually turned around some of that, and it found it's proportionate protest. So it's about what's proportionate. And if we look at what's proportionate, let me give you a quote. From Peter Kalmus, Dr. Peter Kalmus. He's a NASA scientist.
Go on, quickly read your quote out, then I'm going to ask the next question.
Okay, but this is a good conversation.
Just get on to the quote, please, Zoe.
Peter Kalmus, only in the last few days, has said, as a climate scientist, I am terrified by what I see coming. I want world leaders to stop hiding behind magical thinking and feel the same terror.
Yeah. Okay, great. Yes, we've heard that quote. That's out there. Now, you've said on your website 35 to 60 billion, which is a pretty wild estimate, to insulate homes in Britain. What are you going to cut spending on to fund that?
Well, there are many, many options to fund it.
Answer that question. What are you going to cut? Or do you think we should borrow it?
I think there's many options. One, the government could stop the spending on the harmful things that are actually making the climate crisis worse. So you've got
how much would you save?
You've got 27 billion on the road building programme. You've got well over 100 billion on
So you'll get rid of all the roads. What next?
Sorry? No, not all the roads. Just the enormous road building programme that is not going to help anything.
Okay.
The HS2, which the vast majority of people in this country don't actually want and isn't really going to help anyone, and is a huge, huge...
And you'll put them all out of work. But yeah, carry on. You said you're interested in creating jobs, Zoe, not me.
Yes. Hundreds of thousands of jobs.
So you're going to put all the road builders out of work. You're going to put all of the HS2 people out of work. You're doing well so far, aren't you?
HS2 doesn't actually create very many jobs.
Oh, right.
But insulating all the homes across this country creates hundreds of thousands of jobs.
Do you know how many homes are insulated already?
Well, very, very few of our homes are up to scratch.
Hang on. Do you know how many homes are already insulated?
Well, this is about a complete
no.
low-carbon
Come on,
retrofit,
do you actually know how many are actually fitted, both with cavity wall insulation, with loft insulation? Do you know how many?
I don't know exactly off the top of my head.
Well, don't you think if you're going to go out campaigning, disrupting people's lives, you could do with some facts? Like 16.6 million have had loft insulation as of the end of 2020. That's 68% of properties. Zoe, hang on. You're campaigning out there, disrupting people's lives, and you don't even know how many lofts and cavity walls have been insulated. You're just blatantly demanding we go and do it to all of them. It's basically ill-founded and ignorant to do that.
It's not at all. We have.
Well, it is ignorant because you don't know. And you should.
I'm sorry that I don't know that information right on the top of my head right now. What I do know is that Insulate Britain as a campaign has got a lot of support from the industry, the construction industry, and from building and architecture experts. And they have been demanding they've been trying to do this for years and years. And if you look at our demands, they're actually about insulation and the whole house retrofit. So insulate is obviously a shorthand, but the whole house retrofit is about massive energy efficiency so that our energy bills come right down. But also it's about getting off the gas grid.
Okay,
Nick.
fair enough. And how much? No, that's fair enough. Listen, Zoe, I'm letting you get your message over. It's only fair. But do you know how much the government already spends on insulation, just out of interest?
Oh, it's come down a lot. They've cut it a lot. I think it's over $1 billion, or possibly not even that much.
Yeah,
but that's a tiny proportion of what's needed, Nick.
In total, it's $2 billion. But I'm just saying that my main point to you is, I was really disappointed you didn't know how many homes have been insulated, because if you're campaigning on this issue, you really should be out there knowing some of those facts. And I think it is a weakness in the argument, because your whole campaign implies nothing has been done. Actually, quite a lot's been done. 68% have been done All right.
Okay. Well, if you spoke to Lord Deben, the chair of the Climate Change Committee, who I'm guessing you probably know, the Climate Change Committee are very, very clear that this work, the insulation and retrofitting of all UK homes to get them off the gas grid and get them fit for the future climate, it needs to be a huge infrastructure priority of government, and it isn't. They've been saying that for years.
So, listen, I've got some suggestions for you here, okay, on Twitter, all right? So, you were asking for campaign ideas. If Insulate Britain are serious, says Paula, let them block the roads around Downing Street. Why aren't you doing that? You want to cause attention? I mean, that is so much better than disrupting the rest of our lives, isn't it? Why don't you do that?
Well, you're probably aware that other movements have done that kind of thing before, and it's not led to enough. It's not led to enough change, has it? So, unfortunately,
do you really think holding this? Do you really think that you're going to get your goal, or are you just more interested in getting people put in prison in the hope they'll be put in prison so you can make a big thing about it at the COP26? Because that's what your leaders said is his goal, which is actually a pretty pathetic goal. I respect your wish to get insulation in homes. I totally accept that. But it's a bit pathetic to play politics with the COP conference like that, isn't it?
I think what's pathetic, Nick, is that our government has systematically been ignoring the scale of the risk to the entirety of the British people and all British families. This is a national security risk. Every child alive now is born into endless disruption. They face fires, floods, and food shortages, and goodness knows what's going to come out of that. Just as I said, the MOD is fully aware this is going to lead to conflict and endless struggles. We are at the beginning of this, and our kids are on an escalator to hell, Nick.
So
this is way, way bigger. And what is pathetic is that this is not being acknowledged by this country and by our government.
Okay, Zoe, listen, thank you very much for coming on. Robust debate and free speech, we're all about that here. That was Zoe Cohen, spokesperson for Insulate Britain. What do you think? Call me 0344 499 1000 or tweet me at TalkRadio or at Nick De Bois.